Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, June 15th, 2020. On the show today, news, listener questions, and in our main segment, let's talk about retheming Splash Mountain. Let's get started by bringing in the man who says that every Olympic event should include one average person just for reference. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Have you ever seen Louis Anderson's first appearance on The Tonight Show?
Yes.
The Olympics happened in L.A. that summer. He makes some wonderful jokes to the effect of, I was part of the Summer Olympics, and pole vault, nailed that thing right in the ground. And I fixed those uneven parallel bars for you. And the final joke is just broad jump, killed her.
Oh, jeez.
Not politically correct, of course, but it was a different time. So
I like to watch the figure skating. And from the moment that the music begins, I like to state out loud how much of that routine to that point I could have done. Like when they start, and they're just basically raising their arms dramatically, I'm like, I'm in. And then as soon as they start to skate backward, I'm like, no, I'm out. That's it. I can do this. Okay, I can't do that.
The thing is, you're sitting there and watching somebody skate backwards, then jump in the air and spin. And they land, and you watch all of these skating enthusiasts like, oh. And it's like, what do you mean, oh, she landed? It's like, no, she flutzed.
Yeah. You didn't notice her leg was supposed to be at a 45 degree angle, but it was like 38. So
that's it exactly.
Heartbreak. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, basically, if you can skate backwards and jump up and down on the ice, that's witchcraft. Let's call it what it is, Jim.
There we go.
All right, Jim, let's do a shout out to subscribers over at disneydish.bandcamp.com. Jim, 8 weeks in a row with a record number of Bandcamp subscribers. Folks, I've got at least four DVC reservations that start as soon as we're allowed back in the hotels and parks. So just in a couple of weeks, you'll start hearing Bandcamp exclusive shows about what it's like to be back in Walt Disney World. Thanks to new subscribers M. Avia, Jeanette, David S., and my friend Riley Williamson. Man, how you been? Get in touch. And also thanks to longtime subscribers Jane, C. Burns, and Thomas S. Jim, these are the folks who actually flew the Millennium Falcon into position outside Smuggler's Run at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And they still fly it when it has to be moved for things like paving, maintenance, or, when alternate side street parking rules are in effect. True story. It is in the area formerly known as Streets of America. And there are parking regulations, just like,
I learned so much on this show, and that's got to be one of those signs in Arabesh in Black Spire Outpost.
Clearly.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, move your cars to the other side. Exactly. I think Reedy Creek really needs to get on that and rescind those restrictions for the land that is now Galaxy's Edge. But, it's a government. They overlook things.
I totally agree.
All right, Jim, more reopening news. The big one, of course, Disneyland. Downtown Disney District opens July 9th. The parks open July 17th, which I believe is what, the 65th
yes.
birthday of the park. Woohoo! Mm-hmm. And then the hotels, the Grand Californian and Paradise Pier open July 23rd. Jim, no word on the Disneyland Hotel, though.
What I've been initially hearing is, remember, they are building that fourth tower.
Oh.
And especially during this period where they're not sure what actual guest demand there will be for the resort, they're kind of using that as their get-out-of-jail-free card to the effect of, keeping that out of the inventory because we're in a crucial point of the construction. But
I know in World, there's talk of consolidating existing hotel reservations into the hotels that will be open. Is that what's going to happen in Disneyland as well? If you had a reservation for the Disneyland Hotel on July 23rd or after, and it's not open, that you'll be schlepped over to not schlepped, because but moved over to Grand Californian or Paradise Pier?
If you had a reservation at the Disneyland Hotel and you're upgraded to the Grand California, you're a happy guy.
Exactly.
Okay? On the other hand, if you end up at Paradise Pier, which is now a little bit more of a hike, and I don't know as you're necessarily going to be quite as happy a person.
Right. I don't know that Disney would do that without some sort of other compensation. I mean, Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian, sign me up. I'm on board. Disneyland Hotel, Paradise Pier, I am not on board. So, they'd have to deal with that. And we have actually some interesting listener questions coming up on topics exactly like this. So
I guess the elevators for the Paradise Pier are notoriously slow. And when you factor in, obviously, the social distancing and the limited capacity of elevators, that could be an issue.
So speaking of this, so I've been in Florida for a while now, but when I was in New York during the lockdown, there are 2 elevators in our apartment, and one group goes in each elevator. And it got to the point where I gave up on taking the elevator, and my apartment turned into a 10th floor walk up. But I have to say, Jim, my cardio is actually pretty good coming out of this whole thing.
I was about to say, that turned a negative into a positive, and oh my God, look at those thighs. Wow. Okay, so.
Let me see. You got to look for the good and everything. So that was that. Also in Walt Disney World this coming Wednesday, so June 17th, Chef Art Smith's Homecoming reopens. July 1st, we have the opening of the Hilton Bonnet Creek, the Waldorf Astoria, and the Four Seasons Resort Orlando. And then July 29th, so a little bit more than, 7 weeks from now, the Swan and the Dolphin. Jim, why are the Swan and the Dolphin opening so late?
It's because of what's going on with convention business.
Major League Soccer is a convention, Jim, yes. Okay. They're using the resort as a base for the restart of the Major League Soccer season. I believe that begins in 9 days on the 24th. When teams come in, they play for roughly a month, and then they do, I think there'll be, the playoffs will happen, and then once the playoffs start, there's only like 4 teams left. No, quarters are 8 teams, then semifinals will be 4 teams, and then the finals will be 2 teams. So by that point, by the time that they get deep into the playoffs, there'll only be a few teams left, so that's not going to take up the entire resort. And then so the Dolphin has availability from July 29th, and then it looks like the teams will be staying at the Swan, because the Swan, you can start booking rooms around the second week of August.
Okay, before we step away from the convention business thing, there's the Star Wars Celebration event that's going to be happening in August. I want to say the 27th through the 30th, and one of the components of that supposedly is the Disneyland After Dark, the Star Wars Night hard ticket event. There's been a lot of people concerned because Comic-Con has been canceled, and just yesterday, Coachella for the entire year.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, that got canceled. So there's a number of people, okay, so what's the deal with Star Wars Celebration? Is that going to get shut down as well? And it's like, went to the Anaheim Convention Center site, and they actually still have events booked. In fact, they start up again actually on July 17th, and there's at least 2 and 3 events. The spring Orange County Home and Garden Show is, I want to say, August 1st and 2nd. And BabyCon, Len, BabyCon is happening.
I'm a little concerned that BabyCon happens in public. Do you go to, I mean, do you... It's like when people say, vegetarian fed beef. Like, where are you getting these vegetarians to feed these cows?
You're very literal, Len. Has anyone talked to you about this?
No, I know.
Again, for me, it's hard to read the tea leaves because it looks like, like Anaheim Convention Center is actually going to be up and running. And yet, if you Googled Star Wars Night at Disneyland, you get sent immediately to the Disneyland phased opening page.
Right. Okay.
I'm sorry. We were talking Major League Soccer there.
Yeah, so soccer will be at the Swan and Dolphin. And we've already talked about the NBA coming back to Disney World. Jim, I was talking to somebody in Celebration a couple days ago at a socially acceptable distance apart. And I said, if we get through the NBA and MLS playoffs and we are all not completely exhausted about hearing how great the Walt Disney World Resort is this summer, Disney will have failed. Like, I fully expect to see the Fabulous Five be the cheerleaders at every event. Like, if we are not completely sick of hearing about Wide World of Sports 2 months from now, Jim, it will be an opportunity lost. Like, I cannot wait for it. I'll be like, yeah, Wide World of Sports, we should go there. Yeah. I wonder if they're gonna go into the parks. That's a big question. I expect they will, only because it won't be it'll be hard to avoid it.
No, I get that. But at the same time, daily COVID
daily testing,
tests, yeah. All those extra magic hours that we're not getting?
Yeah.
I would imagine that a lot of NBA players are going to
go. I didn't think of that, Jim.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the show, but let's run with it and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, speaking, Jim, of Florida and restrictions, I was doing some poking around the governor's website for Florida, and right now there's a executive order in place that says if you come from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, which are, by the way, huge markets for Walt Disney World and tourism to Florida in general, if you come from any of those states, you've got to self-quarantine for 14 days once you get to Florida. That executive order will expire automatically on July 8th or 9th. I haven't done the exact math on the days. It'll expire automatically July 8th or 9th unless it is specifically extended through another executive order by the governor. So if the question is, can we get to the parks when they open July 11th and July 15th if we're coming from New York? Right now, the answer is a qualified yes. You won't have to quarantine.
Did you see what this was shared to us by Dustin Harder on Twitter? You bring up the quarantine issue. Mm-hmm. This is what he tweeted out. It said, so my wife's job told the staff today that if they go to a theme park, they would have to then self-isolate for 14 days. And the question here is, how many other employers are doing this, I wonder? And then, of course, the ripple effect to what that means to the Disneys and the Universals of the world, or the Six Flags for that matter.
So it's an employer who's not in the theme park industry who's saying, if you go to a theme park, you must then self-quarantine for 14 days before coming back into the office.
Yeah.
Huh. What about like Vegas? Have you seen the videos coming out of Vegas?
Yes, Wayne's looking great.
For our listeners who haven't seen it, there are videos going around showing the opening of Las Vegas in hotels like the Cosmopolitan, where for most of the video it looks like pre-lockdown Las Vegas. A lot of people not wearing masks, very, very close together. I mean, it looks like regular Vegas with a few masks. Is what it looked like to me, and that was the. There's some consternation going on, including me. I'm a little worried about that. That looked to be a little too much, no mask wearing, too close together for comfort. But we'll know in 10 days.
We will. 10 days or 2 weeks. So
yeah, I just don't know how. I mean, number one, you're ethically obligated to say that. If that policy is in place by your provider, you're ethically obligated to follow it, right? I mean, you've got to do that. It'll be interesting to see where they draw the line on that. Like, if a theme park is obviously a gathering of many thousands of people, but what's the low end of that number? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Like, what if you went to the beach? Would you have to? I don't know. But I understand the intent of the policy there, so can't fault that. Speaking of policies, Jim, there's a new survey out from Walt Disney World. It went out, so we're recording this on Thursday the 11th. It came out Wednesday the 10th, and it's around the new processes and procedures that Walt Disney World is putting in place to deal with the COVID pandemic. So let's go through these questions, and I want to get your thoughts on, number one, what's the intent behind the question, and two, what Disney's looking for. All right?
Okay.
All right. So the first question is this. The Walt Disney World Resort will be adopting new processes and procedures as it reopens. Prior to taking the survey, which of the following, if any, were you aware would be in place in Walt Disney World? So it's things like safety and health protocols, including temperature screenings, more hand washing stations, limiting the number of people in the park, screening employees the same way, physical distancing, and then requiring masks. Also, digital experiences, signing up for virtual queues, advanced digital reservations required to enter the theme parks, online check-in for the resorts, and then use of mobile order service and pay for food. Also, the things about experiences, right? So no parades, things like that. So what are they going for here with this?
This survey was actually sent to Walt Disney World annual pass holders, and I can't help but think that this is kind of a canary in the coal mine situation. Annual pass holders are supposedly the most passionate theme park fans, that they should be the most connected to what the resort is up to at that time. And if these folks aren't aware of what they'll be encountering when they go back into the parks in mid-July or thereabouts, or excuse me, June, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, we really need to move on our PR campaign, because if the annual pass holders don't know, what are the chances that the general public is going to know about this?
It's basically an order of magnitude drop off between AP holders and the general public on a variety of things, including this. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Okay. So the next question was, given the above assumptions around, new procedures and things like that, how committed are you to your currently planned Walt Disney World hotel booking for fill in the blank month? And the answers are fully committed. We're definitely keeping our reservation. Somewhat committed, not very committed, and then not at all committed. We plan on canceling.
Going to the parks starting when all these new processes and procedures in place, it's going to be challenging. And in fact, I'm sure you've seen, you've had Seth in the Universal parks.
Yep.
And it's been fascinating to watch people comment on having to be in the parks with masks. And that some people, it's like, no big deal. And other people, it's torture. Going forward here, it's just with all these terms and conditions in place. Is this a deal breaker? No parades, no fireworks,
Yep.
no meet and greets or dining experiences. And especially considering, again, annual pass holders who, go to the parks at a drop of a hat.
All right, so that's what they're going for there. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And then the next question was, what primary method of transportation are you currently planning to use to get from your home to the Walt Disney World Resort Hotel? I plan to drive, I plan to fly, or other. Mm-hmm. So train, boat. It's linked to the next question, which is around how likely you are to use the Walt Disney World bus transportation to and from your resort hotel and the theme parks of Disney Springs. And then assuming that the buses have limited capacity. Okay, so fair enough. So this is the transportation section of the survey.
And I don't know if you saw the New York Times did a story, I want to say yesterday or Tuesday, where they talked about for the medical professionals who were in the middle of COVID that it used to be their commute was the most terrible part of the job. And now it's like, I get to decompress. I'm in my car. I'm alone.
Yeah.
I'm safe from infectious people. And the concern here at Disney is that what if a lot of people opt, instead of flying, because flying looks scary, to drive down to Disney? And conversely, if the same concerns about, geez, do I want to go on the bus? I don't know. Who am I exposing myself? Let me drive my car over to the parks or Disney Springs.
Yeah.
Think about what that means to traffic on the roadways of Walt Disney World, or
right, yeah,
and what that means also to the parking lots, which are huge, but they're not necessarily going to accommodate everybody who decides I'm afraid to get on a bus, so I'm going to drive over to the parks.
Well, let's say too you decide to drive to the Magic Kingdom. You're parking at the TTC, and now your choices are ferry or monorail, which are both at reduced capacity. So if you've got more people arriving but less capacity, you've created a bottleneck, or a bottleneck has been created.
Yeah.
All right. The next question. Has your household been financially impacted since you made or modified your current reservation for the Walt Disney World Resort? And the answers are yes, in a positive way. So I guess if you're in healthcare, things are great. Mm-hmm. If you're being paid hourly in healthcare, that is. Yes, in a negative way, or no.
With this one, I mean, remember, we were just talking about the Disneyland survey, which basically asked the exact same question of annual pass holders. And, again, largely this is about trying to gauge what impact, if any. Face it, the United States just this week entered a recession.
Right.
And, the whole notion of, okay, so what impact is this going to have on guest spending at the parks? Have you seen the revenue streams that are being shut down at the parks now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, tons of things, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, sit-down dining, obviously super impacted, but what else?
Well, we've got things like, the Bibbidi Bobbidi boutiques, which were this huge moneymaker for the company.
Oh, right.
Incidental, but still a steady money stream. Things like arcades, the additional hard tickets for things like fireworks voyages or tasting cruises.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You don't even really think about it, but like the Wonderland Tea at Park Fair, which
is a great tea, actually.
It is.
Oh, also speaking of the Grand Floridian, the spas are shut down too, right?
Yeah. Likewise, the salons. And the other thing that got impacted is for example, pin trading. That they'll still be doing pin trading, but no cast members will be wearing lanyards because, again, they want to respect social distancing. So there'll be boards set out in the park. Likewise, if you think about, how they used to do new product launches. What is the name of that thing in Disney Springs where they do all of the Disney-themed product?
Trendy.
Yeah, okay. Likewise, the Art of Disney.
Right.
Author signings have gone away, or artist signings. And then get just things that actually made it easier for people to shop, so they kind of do it mindlessly, like the package delivery to the front of the park, or back to the hotels. It's suspended, Len.
Oh, okay. That's going to cut into some revenue because no one's going to buy stuff you have to carry around.
Yeah, and then even things like the free entertainment opportunities that help make people feel like they were getting their money worth from their Walt Disney World vacations. Things like the campfire at Fort Wilderness or the electric water pageant.
All right, so this was the one I wanted to talk to you about. Why?
It's literally about social distancing, Len.
But people watch it from their hotel. It's not like you gather in a single place to watch the water pageant.
Well, this is more about the fact that the people who stand on the beach, and especially now that the bungalows are in place at the Poly, there's only a couple of places where you can stand to, if you're a guest who isn't staying in one of the bungalows, where you can stand and watch the water pageant.
Did it really draw that kind of crowd? I mean,
this is more about its liability, Len. It's right. Remember that that sign to the effect of "You are now entering Disney Springs," and you take responsibility for possibly being exposed to COVID-19. This is the same thing. If you press them on this, it's like, oh, no, it's not about COVID. Not at all. We are working on that walkway from the Grand Flow over to the Magic Kingdom, and it's only temporarily suspended. It'll be back. But yeah, realistically, this is about preventing people from standing, that wonderful waterfront bar at Fort Wilderness.
Yeah, okay. And there's one at the Poly too, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Geyser Point. Yeah, that's outdoors though.
Yep.
But I see your point. Yeah, but you're right. They have a viewing area right in front of Geyser Point for the parade. Okay, valid point. Yeah. Next question was, which, if any, of the following have you already completed for your currently planned trip? Bought a regular Walt Disney World theme park ticket, bought a special event Walt Disney World theme park ticket for things like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, pre-purchased a ticket or made a reservation for some other entertainment activity at the Walt Disney World Resort, like Drawn to Life presented by Cirque du Soleil. So speaking of Cirque du Soleil, I understand that we have a couple of listener questions on how to go about getting a refund for Drawn to Life tickets if your show was canceled. And I think the big concern that people have when they write in is apparently Cirque du Soleil is not doing great financially.
They're kind of classically overextended. They had so many companies going around the world, and there's a reason to be concerned. Yeah. But on the other hand, Drawn to Life, this is Cirque du Soleil and Disney. And Disney's already put a lot of money into this. So, come hell or high water, this show is happening. Right. Even if Cirque du Soleil, the company, crashes and burns.
If Disney has to hire their own bendy French people, sure.
Yes. Anyway, to get back to the specific question, I mean, first and foremost, again, when they talk about bought a regular Disney theme park ticket, face it, in a situation now where we're dealing with it, you can't get into the parks unless you have an advanced digital reservation. A lot of people are just used to, I bought the ticket. I can walk up, any day I can get into the parks. What this means is that someone at Guest Relations actually has to take that ticket and translate it into an advanced digital reservation for this person. So that's an interaction. And then what do I do with my Cirque du Soleil ticket for a performance that didn't happen or got canceled or whatever? Right. Same thing, an interaction with Guest Relations. Likewise, we're in a situation right now where it's like, hey, is there actually going to be a Mickey's Not So Scary this year? So the thing that, frankly, Disney's trying to avoid here is a very long, slow-moving line at Guest Relations.
Right, because where would you put them? Because there's only so much area at the entrance of the park to put Guest Relations lines, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a logistics thing. Okay, that makes more sense. Jim, it's almost as if you've had some special inside information here on the reasons behind all of this. I commend. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying I commend you on your deductive reasoning here.
I'm very skilled with a tarot deck, Len.
Amazing. Very prescient of you. All right. So a couple of things around the new hotel experiences. Those are in the video that Disney's released here around what to expect during your next Disney stay. Yeah.
Have you seen this thing yet?
I have actually. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the catchphrase, the thing they're trying to nail home, this whole, so you can stay in confidence.
And enjoy the magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little wordy
Yeah.
to me, but yeah, stay with confidence is... All right, so full disclosure, I actually saw the visuals for the campaign ad before I saw the tagline, but now the tagline makes sense.
The specifics, the particulars that, me personally, I didn't know, for example, the idea of, your remote control is going to be cleaned and then placed in a plastic bag and be waiting for you to open once you get into your hotel room.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so.
That's good. All right, Jim, let's do a couple of listener questions here. This one from Dave from Tennessee. He says, as a premium annual pass holder, I'm in a state of flux. I've spent several hours waiting on hold, talking to Disney and talking to numerous very nice and very confused cast members. The base question is that Dave has is this: what are you going to do with annual pass holders? So Dave says it's obvious that what we get now isn't what we paid for. We don't even know if we can get into the park, if we can park hop. There are no parades or fireworks, and so to Dave's point, he says it's not fair to start the clock ticking again on my annual pass on July 11th. So he asked Disney for a refund from March 16th until his annual pass date, which is December 2nd, and they said maybe. So Dave's suggestion is this: that all annual pass holders are on hold until they enter a park, and then the clock starts ticking on their annual pass. What do you think of that idea, Jim?
I have to admit, I like it, and Disney is trying very hard at this point to engender goodwill.
Yeah. My point to Dave on this was basically, if you can get an actual person on the phone with the power to do what you want, they will probably do it. The question is getting that person on the phone.
That's it exactly. I mean, I guess this is one of those situations where persistence is going to pay off, but also, to be frank, you have to allow Disney to sort of catch up, so to speak.
Yeah, they've got their own processes they got to go through, and you got to let them do it, right? Yeah. The reason why I like this question is it's sort of similar to what we're sort of going through at touring plans, where we've got annual subscriptions for people as well, and we extended everyone's subscription as soon as the parks closed for 2 months, and we're still getting a lot of people who one-offs who are saying, can you extend my subscription, and we're doing that on a case by case basis. But the big question that faces us, and Disney's facing the same thing too, is the longer that you extend the passes past the time at which the parks reopen, basically it doubles or extends the amount of time that you don't have revenue, right? So let's say the parks are closed from mid-May to mid-July, mid-March to mid-July. So that's March, April, May, and June, 4 months, right? So if they extend the passes another 4 months, that's 8 months that they've gone without revenue.
And as we were just pointing out, when you think about the revenue channels that Disney has counted on to make the company a cash producer, whether it's Bippity Boppity Boutique or those nighttime cruises out on, Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake, they dig in their heels that much more.
Yeah.
When the notion of we have to give away more? No.
Yeah. So for touring plans, we're sort of looking at this, and and the principle we're using is the principle of least harm, right? So if you ask for a refund and you need it, we're giving it to you. But doing it proactively is difficult for us for that same reason, right? I mean, and it's different for us, right? Because it's a $15 or $10 subscription versus $1,000 for an annual pass, right? So vastly different scales.
I don't know. I agree. Yep.
I mean, here's the thing, and I've told Dave this, I think. Get a reasonable person on the phone. They will probably accommodate you, especially if you're an annual pass holder with some history, right? They're not gonna. No one's gonna make you mad over a few months on an annual pass. If you say, I'm coming back in 2024 and I want my annual pass to start again, may not be the most reasonable request you can make there, but yeah.
Disney's right now, doing a lot of guest recovery, and you just have to understand that you're one of thousands.
One of hundreds of thousands of people with the exact same question. The questions we have. All right, on to this is actually a correction for me from our friend Nicholas. And he writes, and this is going to kill me, and I know you're going to be pained on this one too, Jim. Nicholas writes, Len, who in the world told you that Mandy Patinkin did the musical score to The Sting? It was done by Marvin Hamlish. It's long been one of my favorite films, and I've never heard Patinkin's name associated with the film. So let me pause there. Absolutely right. Like everyone, Nicholas, I confuse Mandy Patinkin and Marvin Hamlish all the time. In fact, when I am walking about New York and I see them on the street, it is super awkward for me to say hi using the other person's name. there may or may
also,
not be.
given the fact that one is dead.
Right. I know, right. There may be a Zabar's fish counter story in there. I'm just saying. What Nicholas says is, what surprised me is that Mandy's never been nominated for an Academy Award, despite multiple Emmy and Tony nominations, and also let Jim know that he did get a Golden Globe nomination for Yentl, which, of course, I know is your favorite film.
Okay, quick side note here. Marvin Hamlish collaborated with Howard Ashman on a musical for Broadway called Smile, which was where Howard Ashman met Jodie Benson, who became the voice of Ariel.
Oh, Ariel. Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because Dawn Hahn has put together a documentary about the life of Howard Ashman that is going to be debuting on Disney Plus later this summer. And I've heard it's extraordinary. So for you Marvin Hamlish fans out there, that's supposedly footage of Howard and Marvin working on the show together.
Oh, fantastic. And that's coming to Disney Plus
this summer. That's as specific as I'm allowed to be. Okay. Later this summer.
So, all right, fair enough. All right, Jim, one last listener question. Actually, it's a show topic from Kevin, who says, are there any interesting stories of the Walt Disney Company when it became a publicly traded company? So the transition from being held by the Disney family to becoming publicly traded.
Yes. And in fact, if you want to read something fascinating, Google now 1940 Walt Disney annual report. That was the very first time they filed an annual report. And it's a particularly dark time in the Disney company where World War II is about to happen and the markets have been closed off for Disney's films. So Pinocchio is just come out and is losing a buttload of money, and Fantasia's not looking all that good as well. And it's basically the company talking about, remember when we were going to do a film, 2 films every year? That's not happening anymore. And that's the very first thing they have to tell shareholders. Hey, thanks for giving us our money. Remember that plan? We're not doing it.
Let's do a show on this, though. Do you have the annual report, the 1940 annual report?
I do, and I'll slip you a copy because, again, you have a keener financial eye than I. Me, I'm just looking for the gossip.
Let's do it. Let's do a show on it. That'd be fun.
Okay.
All right, folks. That does it for the listener questions. Don't forget, every Friday night we do a virtual movie night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where the movie is related to a Disney or Universal theme park ride. You log on to the Touring Plans chat feature or onto Twitter. Use the hashtag Len or Movie Night. We'll make goofy comments about the movies it plays. Be sure to follow Touring Plans on Twitter to vote for each week's film. Jim, last week's film, Bedknob and Broomsticks.
Oh, those
Classic.
Poor people.
All right, when we come back, folks, we're going to figure out how to retheme Splash Mountain. We'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
Our friends over at cinemablend.com are reporting on a change.org petition to retheme the ride Splash Mountain. Here's the introduction of the petition. It says, Disney parks should be a home for all to enjoy, regardless of race, age, or whatever your background may be. The classic log flume ride Splash Mountain is featured in Disneyland, Disney World, and Tokyo Disneyland. While the ride is considered a beloved classic, its history and storyline are steeped in extremely problematic and stereotypical racist tropes from the 1946 film Song of the South. And the petition goes on to call on Disney to retheme Splash Mountain to Princess and the Frog in Disneyland. So before we start on this, I would get a couple of things out of the way. Number one, that last line in the intro paragraph is objectively true. It is considered a beloved classic. Its history and storyline are steeped in extremely problematic tropes. and that's why Disney doesn't release the film in the United States. Okay, so we accept these as facts, right? We all agree it's true.
No. In fact, if we go all the way back to the initial development of the attraction, there's a reason you have Brer Frog narrating the attraction.
He's Uncle Remus, right?
He's the stand-in for Uncle Remus, because they knew even back in 86, 85, when they were getting this ride ready to make, it's like, that's not going to work.
That's not going to fly. Yeah. So a couple other things. One, when it comes to listening to things like this, Disney's already set a precedent with Pirates of the Caribbean to address these kinds of issues. So number one, the comment is true. Number two, Disney has addressed these kinds of things in the past. And then I would say two things. One, in Disneyland at least, Splash Mountain is adjacent to New Orleans Square, and Princess and the Frog is set in New Orleans. So
it is. Do you remember Tiana's Jubilee, the show they did on the
riverboat, on the Liberty Bell Riverboat? Again, New Orleans themed, right? Good location for that, yeah.
Honestly, one of my favorite things that Disney has done in the parks in years. It was this wonderful 15 to 20 minute long show that used the boat as a stage. And a wonderful show. And you're right, it fit the New Orleans Square area perfectly. But first of all, Splash Mountain, they thought they were being smart back in the 1980s because this was going to be a water ride. This was going to be a flume ride, and which meant, okay, it's going to get damp inside that show building. And they knew since 1967 they would have to go in repeatedly and make repairs because wood sets and water don't mix. They rot, they fall apart, they warp. And so they thought, let's be clever. For Splash Mountain, let's sculpt everything out of concrete.
Right. Yeah. You have to borrow some dynamite from Big Thunder Mountain to redo this ride. Is that what you're saying, Jim?
Splash Mountain actually missed its initial announced opening for December of 89 because when they began testing the drop from Chickapin Hill, they found that it was literally off by just 2 or 3 degrees, but it was enough that the very first guy who, and again, this was a construction worker who wasn't supposed to be on the ride, but when he hit the bottom of the Chickapin Hill, it was so jarring, he broke his leg.
Ooh, okay. All right. We'll talk about being a test subject.
That's why they use the water dummies, Len.
Yeah.
Anyway, when they come back and they have no water in them, okay, it hit a little hard. They had to go in and basically jackhammer out the hill and gentle up the drop by just 2 and 3 degrees. But this armchair imagineering about, that's Mama Odie's boat, and lots harder than anybody would ever imagine. I mean, not saying that they can't do it. Certainly, we've seen Disney take attractions and strip them down to bare steel and then bring them back as entirely different experiences.
Sure.
But the Walt Disney Company loves Princess Tiana. If you're talking about this character from a parks, experiences, and products side, they love her. She's a consistent seller. Every year they can rely on, sales of dolls and toys with Princess Tiana's likeness. On the other hand, Princess and the Frog, the movie, when it came out in 2009, underperformed. That is the legacy of the film within the company. Back in 2007, John Lasseter stood on stage at Disney's annual shareholders meeting and announced that, hey, we're getting back into the hand-drawn business. And not only that, we're going to have the very first African-American Disney princess. People conveniently forget that when he announced that, hey, the movie's going to be called The Frog Princess, and it's going to star Maddie, who is a maid in the house of Charlotte Buffo, who is this spoiled debutante, in New Orleans. And Disney thought that this Ron and John film was going to be embraced. And there was this tidal wave of negativity that came back. It's like, oh my God, you're making a movie where the first Disney princess is going to be a maid. And, how many black performers in Hollywood had to play the subservient roles? You had to play the butlers, the maids. And they went after the character's name, Maddie, which for some critics was too close to Mammy. Also, it turns out that Maddie was a slave name. And there were even people who pushed back on the notion of, why are you calling it the Frog Princess? Why should the first African-American Disney character have a film built around it, be associated with an ugly amphibian? And so They totally retooled the film. And, on the other side of this, Maddie wasn't Maddie anymore. She was Tiana, and she wasn't a maid. She was this, this ambitious waitress who dreamed someday of owning her own restaurant. And when the film came, it had a new title where it's The Princess and pause, the frog. It just, putting as much distance between those two. So inside of Disney, this is, it's like, yeah, that's the film that kind of helped kill the hand-drawn revival at Disney. It didn't do the business, and then...
I mean, to be fair, Jim, it came out the week before Avatar came out. I mean, so...
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. To put the cherry on the sundae, when Winnie the Pooh came out in July of 2011, it came out on the exact same weekend as the final installment of the Harry Potter series,
right.
Deathly Hallows Part 2. And it's like, that's a 1-2 punch that you can't recover from. And hand-drawn went away at Disney, because of that.
I think in Disneyland, though, I think that theming makes sense. They could, granted, you've got to redo a whole bunch about the ride. And let me say, by the way, Splash Mountain is my all-time. Splash Mountain in Walt Disney World is my all-time favorite ride in any theme park. It is my number one on my list. I love the ride. I love the soundtrack, and we'll lose all of that, right? We'll lose the soundtrack. Because it won't fit, and I'm okay with that, right? My feelings in this particular case don't matter, right? They don't count. So for me in Disneyland, Disney wants to retheme this thing to Princess and the Frog. I am behind it. I liked the movie. I saw it. It was one of our movie night movies about a month ago, and I thought the dialogue was fun.
It's got great stuff. And
it's got the character. It's got the water themed characters, right? It's got the alligator. Yeah, you got all. You've got stuff.
Dr. Facilier. And, I've
totally
got friends on the other. It's got amazing stuff in it. But again, you have to understand that Disney is a business, and it just sort of that's in-house. That's sort of the film's underperformed. Now, Hocus Pocus was also a film that underperformed. And now...
But it's got a cult following now,
Yeah, and now you have the big show in front of the castle and that sort of thing. So it's not unheard of for a property that underperformed to then get an attraction, to then get a show. All I'd ask is don't redo Splash Mountain. If you're going to do a Princess and the Frog ride, do it right.
Give her own ride.
Yeah, take it down to the ground if you're going to do it in Critter Country, and then bring it all the way back up as a brand new ride and show that does right by Tiana.
So what you're saying is you don't want to try and that the film is good enough that it deserves its own ride, not to be sort of thrown on top of an existing ride.
If you're going to take jackhammers to take out all of the concrete sets of Splash Mountain, just go all the way. Just take it down and bring it back up as a ride. Now, just before this show, I went over and looked at the petition. There were 9,700 people at that point that were signing this thing. And I'm not entirely sure that's a big enough number for Disney to take seriously.
Well, it's only been around for a couple of days, and it's starting to
There you go.
It's starting to get media attention now. I told you, and I'll tell listeners, actually got an interview request on this topic before the show began. So here's my concern. So Disneyland, I'm absolutely fine with. I am not in favor of Princess and the Frog to retheme Splash Mountain in Walt Disney World, and the reason for that is Princess and the Frog is set in New Orleans, and Splash Mountain in Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom is set in Frontierland, and those are two different themes. We should not try and shoehorn New Orleans Square in the middle of Pecos Bills and Big Thunder Mountain. Like, we can't. That won't fit. I have proposed, Jim, Apple Dumpling Gang. A Western theme, Jim, and then the comedic gold of Don Knotts and Tim Conway.
Okay, if you're going to involve Tim Conway, I'm on board.
I've
been the world's oldest man fan since that character first appeared on Carol Burnett. So yes,
all right.
Okay.
So listeners, has to stay in Frontierland. What attraction or what movie would you retheme Splash Mountain to? Let us know on Twitter or send us in some reader comments, and we'll read the best ones on the next show. All right, Jim, that was pretty fantastic. Thanks for doing that. Oh, did you want to talk about Disneyland Paris real quick?
To give you some idea of Splash Mountain as a ride, when it opened in July of '89 on Disneyland's birthday, the 17th, hugely popular. So that's, as Len mentioned, it gets a clone built for Walt Disney World, it gets a clone built for Tokyo, and 10 years after the original opens at Disneyland, here's Euro Disneyland trying to figure out what it wants to do for in 1999. And it's this memo that got posted on Twitter that basically lists the ideas that are being considered. And among them is Splash Mountain, though, Len, if you actually read the memo, one of the things that actually held up, they had a spot picked out along the rivers of the Far West. In fact, I think the Chaparral was where they were thinking of building it. But the pushback was, A, it's expensive, and B, is a flume ride going to be, popular in November, December, January when, the park is wet and cold all by itself. Also, frankly, the other issue was Song of the South really, to Disney's thinking, wasn't all that well known with the patrons of Euro Disneyland. So it's like...
to be fair, no one in the United States knows this. Outside of Disney fans, knows the film anyway. No, I would venture to guess that the vast majority of people who ride Splash Mountain in any Disney theme park have not seen Song of the South or understand
the story.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So France too, even more so, right?
Yeah. But they actually talked about the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror inverted ride. Where it was Geyser Mountain.
Ooh. All right, we'll save this for another show, but go ahead. Give me the 2-sentence summary.
You know how you do the powered drop for Tower of Terror, or the powered up and down, but supposedly you're falling down an elevator shaft.
Right.
Geyser Mountain was the inversion of this idea. The idea is you rode a vehicle into this mining complex and rolled over a section of track just as a geyser went off, and that's what then threw you high in the air.
Ooh.
So I've got some schematics and I got some story points, and we should definitely talk about that on a future show.
All right, let's do that. We'll take that as a show topic. Also, I note, Jim, in this Disneyland Paris memo, one of the theming suggestions, or two of the theming suggestions, were to either Pocahontas or Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett fits in Disneyland Paris because the center, I would say the heart of that park is probably Frontierland thematically. No. So that works. And then Pocahontas, also interesting. I wonder if Pocahontas is as well known to European guests as Disney thinks it is. Like, I know it's a Disney film and everything. She's a Disney princess. But to the extent that they were worried about the theme being not well known in Europe for regular Splash Mountain, was Pocahontas a big...
Well, remember, this is proposing an attraction that's going in 99, and Pocahontas had just been released to theaters in 96. So, they were fairly confident that there would be some name recognition. Today, hard to say.
The Pocahontas theme in Frontierland would fit.
It would. It
would drive me crazy because I really don't like Colors of the Wind for song. I really don't. It's a little too saccharine for me. It's a little too, I don't know.
Len, have you never heard the wolf cry at the Blue Corn Moon? Seriously?
Oh. It's not. I don't like the soundtrack. I don't. The film was great. I understood the message. It was a little somber for me.
It's a very earnest movie. In fact, I got to talk with Eric Goldberg about this, and the initial version of that film was that Pocahontas was going to be like an 8-year-old girl. And John Smith was going to be a cabin boy. And so the whole notion was that you had these young characters who taught the adults that they had to behave. And it was only after Beauty and the Beast almost won the Best Picture nomination, or the Best Picture Oscar back in 91, 92, that Jeffrey Katzenberg decided, no, I almost won an Academy Award. The next film we make's got to be big. It's got to be important. And that's what happened to Pocahontas. They took a perfectly entertaining idea and made it earnest and somber and a little boring. So,
what film won the 1992 Best Picture? Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
There you go. So, of course, it's like, have some fava beans, Len.
All right, so let me see. The nominees in 92 for Best Picture: JFK, The Prince of Tides, Silence of the Lambs, Bugsy with Warren Beatty, and Beauty and the Beast. I got to say, Jim, the Academy got it wrong. Beauty and the Beast was the best film of those nominees. Yeah.
It was. But that was the thing that kind of shocked folks, because it was like, Silence of the Lamb had come out in March of the previous year, and Beauty and the Beast came out in November. And nobody thought that, something that had released that early would still do as well as that film did at the Oscars. But it's hard not to forget what Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster did in that movie.
All right, so I could get behind a Pocahontas theme, I think, for Splash Mountain in Disney World. But again, listeners, let's hear your ideas for this. I see Treasure Island happening somewhere. you just know it. Treasure Planet.
There we go.
Oh, Lord. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. Please head on over to disneydish.bandcamp.com, where you'll find exclusive shows never before heard on iTunes. On next week's regular show, we're going to finish up the story of rogue weddings in Disney parks and the construction of the wedding pavilion. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. We're produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who's working on a half-scale replica sand sculpture of the village of Frogmorton for the 40th annual Sandcastle contest on Saturday, September 4th, 2021, just off the boardwalk on the beach in front of Funland between Delaware and Laurel Avenues in beautiful downtown Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. While Aaron's doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.